What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Crash Bang Boom Drumming Podcast. Today's guest is multi-instrumentalist Josh Dion of Paris Monster. And by multi-instrumentalist, I mean simultaneously playing synth, drums, and singing, which is a crazy spin on the whole thing if you ask me. It is truly a sight to behold if you've not seen it. It's fucking crazy, actually. But we hooked up at McCarran Park in Williamsburg, Brooklyn to talk about kickball leagues, all things Paris Monster, touring Europe and the U.S., growing up playing drums with his father, playing with Wayne Krantz, and the precarious nature of navigating his live sets, spontaneity being preferable, influential jazz drummers, and his general love for jazz, plus the crazy list of incredible drummers in New York, including JoJo Mayer, Nate Smith, Mark Guiliana, Nate Wood, and many others. Plus the long road to singing while playing drums, his philosophy behind his synth, drums, vocals setup, and more. And as a heads up, check out parismonster.com for tour dates, and be sure to go check them out if they're coming to a town near you. Dude rules. Also, happy belated Father's Day to all the fathers out there. I'm doing my first one, and I've decided to play the many phases of Ronnie James Dio throughout the day, from Elf to Rainbow to Black Sabbath Dio. And that's going to be the running theme for every Father's Day henceforth. Long live rock and roll, baby. That's what I'm doing. If you're looking to release vinyl for your project, look no further than NewOrleansRecordPress.com. First independently owned and operated full-scale vinyl pressing facility. Get real-time quotes for the many vinyl coloring and pattern options, as well as packaging, printing, mastering, and all that good shit. NewOrleansRecordPress.com. Get on over there and tell them Crash Bang Boom sent you. Get a quicker turnaround than anywhere else, at least for now. So get it while it's hot. So here we go. Josh Dion, Paris Monster, Crash Bang Boom.
Crowds go mad with joy.
But she might never point it on it in the morning, I know this. She a slave to the day, and the dinner that she laid was ambitious. But the roast, to be clear, wasn't witty either, dear. And I'll be bold enough to say you're not cooking to please our family. And I might be an ass, but I'm ass enough to act like a wise one. And I might lack a wit, but I'm apt enough to finish up the trifle.
Josh Dion, how you doing, man? What's going on?
Hey, I'm all right, man. It's a beautiful day, so.
I know it's getting, the clouds are coming in. For those of you listening to this, we're in McCarran Park. It's not. It's kind of a pitiful excuse for a park. By the strictest definition, you could say it's a park, but there's some trees, there's some grass, so I guess you can call it a park. It's definitely not the most beautiful park you'll see.
We're lucky to have it in this industrial wasteland.
There is always that. And if you're really bored, you can always come here and see the hipster kickball leagues, which if you ever want to feel as though you're the most athletic person on the face of the planet, it's a great place to get a sense of how unathletic people can actually be. It's amazing to see it.
I used to love kickball.
Yeah?
Man. Yeah.
They have some wild leagues around here, man. They dress wild, the whole thing. It's crazy. Well, yeah, man, between bass, synth, singing, and drumming, you're like the one-man trio. I know when you do Paris Monster, you're a two-piece now, right?
Yeah.
What's going on, man?
Yeah, we're just heading out on tour this week, starting on Thursday.
Okay.
First show is in Philly. We're gone for most of the month. And, yeah, everything is going great. We're too busy to even think about it this year.
Yeah.
So many gigs.
How long have you been doing Paris Monster now?
I think it's been about 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, originally when you started, did you just start kind of as like a one-man trio thing?
No.
And then, no, because it's always
The only reason anyone thinks I'm a one-man trio or one-man band or whatever is because I did a drum festival.
That's right.
And I played the song.
Oh, okay.
And everybody started sharing it. That was never the intention.
Gotcha.
And it actually is like a bone of contention sometimes because people would message me thinking that I was the band.
Right.
And Jeff Crayley, my bandmate, actually we write the songs together, and he's like a huge part of the sound and everything. So, and when I've played by myself, I mean it's cool, but it feels lacking because he's not there. So, so it's kind of a funny thing. But yeah, I mean I've thought about doing some solo shows here and there. Every once in a while at Rockwood, I'll do one. Right. Just messing around with songs I didn't release or something.
Sure.
But the focus is Paris Monster, and we're out this month, and September, October, November we're going to be in Europe and the UK.
Awesome.
for almost that whole time. So
that's awesome. How have y'all been there previously?
Yeah.
Really? How are you well received over there? Enough to warrant going back, I suppose?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Specifically, I was looking at your tour dates. Y'all are solely in England for September, is it?
Yeah, that's the one we've announced. And that, that's we had a real strong first tour over there. So, yeah, it's nice. It's going to be a good one. We announced it nice and early this time.
Yeah. When was the first time y'all made it over there, to England at least, or even to Europe for that matter?
Europe, we've been going over here and there since the band existed. That was kind of like what it was.
Which has been about 5 years now, you were saying?
Yeah, we would go over and just do little one-offs and festivals, and people would take an interest in us. But I think if I remember correctly, our first England tour was this past January, I think.
Okay.
So it was, so we're going back fairly quickly. It's nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have any places in particular where you feel like that you're especially well received?
I don't know. I mean, I guess the UK, London and Newcastle and just the UK in general.
Yeah.
And New York, Nashville. Those are some big cities for us right now.
Awesome.
Other European countries.
Do you know Adam Betts? He plays with Showbel Leader 1, and he does 3 Trap Tigers, and he does like solo stuff.
Yeah.
He's awesome. I've had him on the podcast. He's an England guy. If y'all are over there for a while, keep an eye out for him, man.
Okay.
He's a fucking ripping drummer. He's
cool.
So good, man.
Cool.
He's awesome. Yeah, go try to catch him if you get a chance.
Right on.
Yeah, man. Drumming-wise, I think from what I've read, you started out as a drummer, so that's where it all started?
Yes, sir.
What led you to the instrument in the first place?
My dad's a drummer.
Ah, so you come from a semi-musical family at least? Did your mother play as well? Or?
No.
Okay. And your dad, did y'all have the double kit set up playing?
Sometimes.
No shit.
Yeah.
That is amazing, man.
Yeah.
Wow. What kind of stuff was he into around the time when I guess you were starting to play with him and stuff?
He's more of a kind of southern rock roots drummer.
Awesome.
Rudiments, really strong rudiments. That's his vibe, so.
Did he play in any kind of like marching band or anything like that where he got his rudimental sense? Is that where
he was way into that stuff? And he's still really good at it.
What percentage of your playing would you say was stuff that you learned from your dad and you feel there may be some of those aspects in your playing even still to this day?
I mean, he didn't force any lessons on me, so it's kind of more stuff that I just picked up from being around him. Yeah. I mean, I certainly got all my hand chops together just from being around him, but he never forced me, and I really didn't want to listen anyway at the time. I'm sure I kind of wish I had, and with a lot of that stuff. But I think that a lot of my feel just kind of naturally comes from him, and it's kind of hard to get away from.
Right.
So, yeah, for sure.
It's one of those funny things. I grew up, there are certain artists that I grew up with my parents listening to. Neither of them were musicians. My mother now, who is in her, I guess, approaching 70-something now, has just started kind of playing instruments, you know. She painted. She's always painter. So that's where I got any kind of sort of artistic inkling from was her. And she just now started to do it. But growing up, my family, they were listening to music all the time. And it's funny, the artists that I couldn't stand when I was young, like my mother listened to Tom Waits, and I hated Tom Waits when I was young. And my dad liked Leon Russell when I was young, and I was never quite so sure on him. And now, of course, I'm older. I'm in my 40s, and I'm like, God, Leon Russell and Tom Waits are the shit. I just love them, you know? Were there any influences like that you can think of, or music that was around the house that you've acquired a taste for that maybe you didn't like when you were young?
Probably stuff that I don't like right now that I liked when I was young.
There's always that trend as well.
I don't know. I mean, it's like when I hear the Allman Brothers or something, like I can't help but think of my dad.
Right.
You know, like, and even having to have gotten to play with those people or meet them or whatever, it's so ingrained in me. You know, I can't help but think of my dad when I hear that kind of stuff. So it's like, but I would probably never put it on just because of how much I heard it when I was a kid.
Really?
You know?
That's wild. Yeah, I loved it. I mean, I grew up at a pretty amazing classic rock radio station down in the South. I grew up down southeast Louisiana.
Oh, cool.
And there were some awesome stations. So I kind of, at that point, I was getting into punk rock and all this other shit. So I was kind of overhearing all the classic rock stuff. And then, of course, later on, I'm like, I listen to classic rock all the time. I started buying vinyl, so now I've got like all these records from like 1974 to 1976, whether it's Foghat or this and that and the other.
Foghat.
Yeah, man. All kinds of mid 70s like groove rock stuff with aspects of southern rock in it with slide guitar. I've always said that slide guitar is like my spirit animal. My sonic spirit animal, you know?
Oh, that's cool.
Do you play any other instruments beyond the three that I've seen you play, including your voice, that is?
I mean, I can play guitar a little bit.
Yeah.
I kind of like took guitar to a certain point,
yeah.
and then I just stopped growing.
Yeah.
Which means I can basically write some songs on the guitar.
Yeah.
That's about it. But no, I mean, I'm not even really a great piano player, so it's like I'm really, really a drummer. And
right.
When you think about it, who sings?
Right. You have a percussive aspect in what is your bass synth playing, that couples with the sort of phrasing that you use vocally, and I can hear the drumming in both your vocals and in your bass synth playing, I think that's all.
Synth bass playing is really, a lot of it is drumming.
Right.
In a sense, bass playing in general, but especially the synth bass stuff, it's just got that kind of thing. So.
Right. Well, we deviated for a second. We were talking about your band Paris Monster. How did that band come about? Because you said you've been in New York probably about 15 years now.
Yeah. It's we had both been in other bands, and I think we were both really looking for something unique to do. And we had, our journeys had taken us in certain places, and I really needed to do something brand new. I had kind of already been the singing drummer guy.
Right.
And it definitely been like the roots rock Levon kind of guy.
Uh-huh.
And I really wanted to kind of grow out of that and do something different.
Yeah.
And so Jeff had been into these modular synths, and he had gotten into pedals, and he was exploring the way he plays bass in a really unique way. And he was writing lyrics and stuff, and I was writing songs. And so we just decided to put this band together that would, be without a guitarist and kind of do something like kind of weird and see what happens, as just kind of an experiment at first. And I think we kind of knew we had this random festival gig that was left over from like the Josh Dion band kind of gigs. Mm-hmm. And we went and just did it, the two of us. And with, I think, no rehearsal, or maybe like one rehearsal or something, and like kind of not having any material. And like we killed it. It felt great. It went over so well. Kind of like a jam band festival, and we just felt so comfortable, and we were like, all right, like let's do this, So it kind of just worked from then on, and slowly but surely, we both did a lot of things. Like I was touring with a lot of like kind of people more in the jazz world, and Jeff was producing some people, and so it was really hard to just focus on the band and get out right out on the road and get the right connections and stuff. So it took a few years for us to get to that, but now we're there.
Right on.
So,
well, what brought you to New York in the first place?
I'm from Connecticut, Eastern Connecticut. So it's kind of like when I thought about music school, it could have been Boston,
right?
But everybody around me was kind of like, you got to go to New York.
Yeah.
I ended up going to New Jersey actually at William Patterson.
Okay.
Which is not far from here.
Right.
And that was really good because financially it's a lot cheaper, and I was a suburban kid, and had a car and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was like a good buffer zone for me.
Uh-huh.
But I quickly moved to the city, and I just was gigging and just immediately busy, and I'm really grateful for it. Just kind of always had gigs and didn't say no to anything for a really long time.
It's kind of what you have to do.
Yeah.
And then at some point you do need to pull that back, it seems. You get pretty burnt out on saying yes to everything.
For sure. Yeah, it becomes really, I think, it takes a while, but people always told me that it took a while.
Right, exactly. Speaking of playing in varying bands, I saw some footage of you playing with Wayne Krantz.
Yeah.
How did that come about, man? Because, in the 90s, I was aware of, I guess it's the 2 Drink Minimum record with Zach Danziger on drums. And that was such a crazy recording. And then having moved to New York, I'm going on like 13 years. I've been able to get over there to the 55 bar and seen him both with Cliff Almond and Keith Carlock.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and both of those guys are great. Man, that's a pretty intense drum gig, dude. Wayne is crazy.
I know. I mean, the whole thing is I always wanted to try that gig. And, I mean, for years would go see them.
Yeah.
And I'm just such a fan. And,
yeah.
and I never knew what the hell was going on in the music.
No.
Until now.
I'm assuming it's like loosely based, and there's a lot of improv
It's
in
mostly
there.
improv.
Yeah.
You know? And it's so cool to... I've been playing with him, you know, here and there for like a year now. He's got me on the call list. And
Nice.
And it's just amazing. And I'm just really happy because... You know, I look up to everybody who's ever done that gig.
Oh, it's yeah.
And I really consider it to be such a special New York thing. That,
Totally.
You know, that, yeah, and I always wanted that badge of honor. And I got to tell you, I was so freaking nervous the first time.
I bet you were.
You know? but I've learned how to just kind of relax. And it's funny because, like, I feel like in my playing right now, like, I'm so not focused on chops. I probably have the least amount of chops I've ever had in my life.
Right.
And so I'm really just grooving on the Wayne gig. It's like so funny. But the energy level is so high. You just have to, it's like you give everything you've got on almost every song. Right. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
Not that you don't do that anyway in music, but I mean like really to the point of after the first song, I'm always thinking, how the hell am I going to get through this?
Uh-oh. Don't blow your load, buddy.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, how am I going to actually, like, do that again?
Right.
You know? And because he's got quite a substantial volume.
Well, that's the other
when he plays, and it's like we're really... And not only are we mentally... You know, we're subdividing, and we're listening, and we're, you know, trying to be dynamic, and, you know... Everything is in the cracks and everything is funky.
Right.
And then it busts out and the energy grows and next thing you know you're flailing your arms and it's just like, wow, it's an adventure, man.
That's crazy.
It's also crazy too because you won't hit one for like, I don't know, what seems like an eternity, you know?
Right.
And then you'll just kind of look over at him and he'll look at me and we'll be like, there it is. Oh yeah. You know, like we never lost it. So it's, sometimes you do lose it, you know, it's really an amazing gig and I'm so freaking happy I finally got to do it.
That's insanity, man. Well, with the like catalog that he does have, and given the looseness of it when you play it, what did you do to even prepare yourself? Was there much rehearsing at all?
Well,
or?
the first thing is he does rehearse, but he only rehearses like an hour.
Really? He's like, all right, that's it.
It's like he shows you the song, and then it's like, okay, next one. He does not want to mess around. And I'm so lucky because any sideman gig I have right now is like that. Which is great because I'm just like I've never been good at these 8-hour all day 2 weeks with like a major artist. We're gonna like rent out SIR and we're gonna all fucking rehearse for, I never did that.
Right.
Like I mean maybe I missed the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like I never did it, and anytime I did anything that was remotely close to that, I hated it.
Really.
I don't know. I just call me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just lazy, but like but the thing I like about the Wayne gig is that it's just number one, learn the melody.
Right.
Know the song.
Right.
What the hell happens? It's really simple.
Yeah.
It starts with blowing, and then there's a melody, an A section, and then there's usually a B section of some kind, and then some kind of cue, and then more improv, and then maybe an outro, and that's all it is. So
it's formulaic in that sense, but
anything can be different, and he really wants it to be different every time.
Yeah.
Like it's the tempos can vary, and the feels, obviously, and whatever groove you come up with, he is trusting that it's going to be something, that he can work with. I mean, it's like the whole thing is trust. So
right,
and that's the thing, and I like that about improvisational music, and I'm not much of a rehearser either. Paris Monster doesn't rehearse a whole lot either. I mean, we do, and we obviously could always stand to rehearse more. And I could stand to practice more, but But I do love a lot of things to be unknown. I don't want to overdo things.
Yeah. You like operating in that zone where there's enough freedom that maybe even you can surprise yourself sometimes.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That is just one of my favorite things to do. When I have done gigs, and there are some gigs out there that, you know, it's really a beautiful thing to have the finesse and the ability to play the same thing beautifully every night. And
right.
A lot of times you're playing to a click or something, and you've got a way you do it, and you're going to get a consistent sound, and there's that too. But I like the unknown. I like trying to find that if possible.
Should we try to use force on him? Oh no, there ain't no flinch in his eyes, son. Should we try to use force on Tony? Oh no, he ain't no man I despise, son. But if we try to use forgiveness, maybe then you might live through the sky.
Are there any particular jazz drummers that you were influenced by? Any particular guys?
Oh, man, so many. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. New York especially is just insane for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. New Orleans is really crazy too, and it's guys that you don't really that I think a lot of people don't really know about. The dudes that are just down there that just play jazz their whole lives, and they're just killers. There's this older dude, Shannon Powell, who's amazing. He's kind of got this big, like Art Blakey kind of swing thing, swings like nobody's business, and has like all the New Orleans rhythms in his pocket as well. And they're just New Orleans is a crazy drumming town, man.
Wow,
holy
that's awesome.
moly!
I've only been there for like a gig or two, so I gotta hang. I gotta come hang.
Oh yeah, dude.
But,
you'd love it.
Yeah, I mean, jazz drummers. I mean, Brian Blade.
He's from Louisiana.
Oh yeah,
he's North Louisiana. I think he's from Shreveport.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's incredible.
That makes sense.
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
I always think of him because he has that, like, how do I even say? I don't know. It's like he's got this spiritual thing, but it's like an egoless thing, but at the same time it's free, and he has chops, but it's like not what the music's about. Yeah. It's kind of like, I don't know, it has this innocence still. Yeah. It's like got all of these awesome ingredients to what makes him so great. Yeah. I think that's why he's my favorite at that stuff, because it's just, he has all of it, but it's like he's just playing music. You know what I mean? And it has nothing to do necessarily, at least in his mind, with what he's learned. All of that is just naturally coming out. But when I hear him play with like Wayne Shorter or something, or the Brian Blade Fellowship, I'm just always just amazed, because you hear the obvious Tony and Elvin and the big influences and stuff, but then it's just like this special kind of thing where, I don't know, like, I don't know what it is about him. That maybe that's why it's like so great. And some people are just like that. Yeah. It's like I can't quite put my finger on why I'm more into that than someone who can play circles around all of us. Right. And there are people who do that in a really musical way that blow my mind too. Right. So, it's I mean, New York is just insane. It's like you go down to 55 bar every night of the week. It's like Nate Wood, Dan Weiss, R.A. Honig. Yeah. The list goes on. It's just tons of people who are, I could just sit there and be like, okay. Right. I mean, on any night you could go see Mark Guiliana, JoJo Mayer, and then go see like Nate Smith after that or something, and just see like three dudes that you're just like, what the fuck? All those guys. Like, they're just so incredible. Every one of those guys. And it's so funny too, because like I've been here for a while and been through all my little phases that I've gone through, and it's like I've never been more influenced by all those guys than in the past 5 years. Yeah. Like, I really feel like I really checked out actually all those people we just mentioned, and Mark and I were classmates. Really? So, yeah. And it's just, but even just to like, be a part of, watching him and what he's done in the past 5 years, like I really started to find my own way of being influenced by him.
Yeah.
You know, and like what with the things that he does, and like trying to be like, oh, how do I feel this when I try to play it, and you know, how can I learn from this, and all of those guys. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's always interesting hearing Mark talk just about the drums. He has such a kind of almost like metaphysical, like very spiritual kind of thing in a way that he describes it and everything. And it kind of makes me feel like a Cro-Magnon. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to tighten these heads and beat the shit out of this thing. And it's probably not going to be very dynamic. And he's like, you know, how do you feel in the colors and the shapes and the whole thing? And then I watch him play, but I'm like, well, damn, whatever's working is working, because that guy's awesome.
Yeah, he is.
That's really cool that y'all were classmates. So is that one of the points in your life where you were studying drum set stuff?
Yeah, we were both jazz performance majors. I mean, it was before I actually was a serious singer too. I mean, I thought I kind of thought I was going to be a jazz drummer, I think.
Yeah.
You know? And I didn't quite have the practice skills together.
Right.
For that. So it's like, it's not that I can't play jazz, but I certainly wasn't like really focused, and I wasn't like driven to be that person. You know, nonetheless, it's actually the music I probably listen to the most still.
Really?
Especially old jazz. Like,
yeah.
I'm like 70 years old on the inside, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like I'd rather listen to like a boring, you know, prestige record.
Yeah.
Like a B-level, like, you know, Rudy Van Gelder recording or something. Like, I don't know. It's just my favorite shit.
Right.
I can't quite tell you why. But,
yeah.
But for me, and being surrounded by all these great drummers, like the one thing that really kind of brought it all together was when I realized I could sing.
Yeah.
And write songs. And I think that with my whole path, that kind of helped me realize, like, oh shit, this is actually what I've always been, you know? So.
Yeah. And at that point, did it come out of necessity? That was it like, all right, sometimes that happens, you know? It's like the band needs a singer. Somebody's got to do it. All right, well, I'm going to do it. I've been a fan of soul vocalists and R&B and all that shit, so let me give it a shot, and I'll try to figure it out.
Yeah, it was kind of like, I was touring with a band, and everybody was a, quote, singer-songwriter at that point.
Quote.
You know, and they were. I mean, and I just remember being like, fuck this.
Yeah.
I can do this.
Yeah.
So I started keeping a journal and started to get into singing and stuff, and people would respond. I mean, it took me a minute to really get it together. It's not something that, like, I didn't grow up singing like I did playing drums.
Right.
And I did sing as a kid here and there, but like, I don't know what it was. It took me forever to really own it.
I bet.
You know what I mean? It wasn't like the thing. Whereas drums, I can't remember starting drums.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the drums, I take the drums for granted. But the vocals, I certainly, now I feel like I've gotten to a place. But it really took the better part of a decade to really like learn.
I bet.
You know.
Well, it's not the most ideal scenario if you're looking to just as vocally, both exerting energy and sitting down. Two things that, you know, generally singers won't do if they're really trying to execute actual singing. Yeah. So there's a whole process of adjusting to that, and I think that's a hurdle, you know.
Yeah.
It has been for me. I'm not a lead vocalist, but I've done vocals in bands, and it's just something I need to practice more clearly. It's one of those things because, like you said, it's if you think if you're super lucky, you'll just receive it by osmosis. But I don't think that's the way it always works.
Well, there is something weird about it, talking about the universe and stuff, where when I do it, I'm better. It's weird.
You mean
like I'm better at both almost.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm doing them together, it's like they go hand in hand. And I think that it was always really natural for me. I think that the thing that I finally learned was technique.
Right.
And pitch control and stuff. That was the stuff that I didn't have at first.
Did you go to a vocal coach at all for that, or was it just trial and error?
Trial and error. I mean, you know, once again, I'm a pretty terrible student. But,
right.
But, I mean, I do have a vocal coach that I see like once every 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, and I do. And I always ask like really, really amazing singers to get together, and we just never do.
Yeah.
So eventually we will. But yeah, I mean, I just trial and error and working on your sound and trying to figure out how to not blow out your voice. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And once you learn that, then you're like, oh, no, I can sing every night. So
Exactly. Then there's that.
yeah.
Well, and also in doing it, I mean, you've got your whole setup. Obviously, like we said, I guess your bass synth is off to the left. You play primarily with your right hand and you sing. And then I think one of the more ridiculous setups I've seen you play, I think you talked about it once, is where you actually had the mic stand between your legs and between you and the snare drum, I guess, and singing with that. Was that one of the more ridiculous setups you've had? Because I would say that one was pretty wild. I was like, how the hell is he doing
That's what I do. I mean, it's actually the opposite. The synth is on the right.
Oh, right, and you play with your left. Sorry,
because the left hand is actually where you get all the ghost notes and stuff.
Right, exactly.
So it's kind of like, and the right hand, my right hand chops on the piano were way better.
Right.
So like I can kind of shred with my right hand.
It makes sense too, lining up with your bass drum.
Exactly. Well, the right hand is basically the bell of the cymbal.
Yeah.
So it's like if I'm doing like David Garibaldi patterns, that's literally what I'm doing.
Yeah.
On the synth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's all that is. And it's kind of separated between the two. I'm not doing any crossover stuff, so having the mic stand in the middle, just I don't know, it's just cool. I want to just grab the mic stand and be cool. So
absolutely. Yeah, man. Have y'all put out a full album, or is it more or less like one-offs?
Full album is done and in the vault, ready for whoever wants to put it out.
Okay.
But right now it's just EP and singles. Check ParisMonster.com for all the tour dates. All you people out there.
Okay. Well, I'll include all that information. Check it out, Paris Monster.
All right, thank you.
Josh, thanks for sitting down with me, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. It was a real fun talk with Josh. He's such a talented guy, and it was a good time talking with him and picking his brain about how he does what he does. Be sure to check out Paris Monster and ParisMonster.com, at Facebook, etc. I'll have all that information in the description. Get up on it. We'll catch you on the next one. Crash, bang, boom.